Hollow Knight content.
In all seriousness though, Hollow Knight is my favorite game probably ever, combining difficult platforming challenges with the sort of rich and lively world building that my online presence has become synonymous with. The sequel to the first game, Hollow Knight Silksong, is releasing soon, depending on your definition of the word soon, that is. But I've recently become absolutely obsessed with the Silksong trailers, demos, and playthroughs that we've seen, so here are some moments and little details that I haven't seen too many people talk about. Enjoy! Starting off with the fleas from the Nintendo Treehouse demo. I've watched a lot of Hollow Knight videos, and I've beaten every challenge in the base game except for the Pantheon of Hallownest, but as far as I can tell, the fleas are the first asset in both Hollow Knight and in Silksong to be animated in a 3D fashion. That is to say, we see the flea fly towards the screen. Next, from the release trailer, we see this gold cage, and my first thought on seeing this was that it's extremely reminiscent of the gold from the God Home area of the first game, and it's very visually distinct from all the other metals in Silksong, from the darker tones of the deep docks to the more brass-like vibe of the cultists area. It's interesting to note that a theme in the Godmaster DLC is ascending to the top of each pantheon. Not Gorb, not yet, no. And that this elevator, which ascends, shares a similar style of that area. Laces Gorb, confirmed? No, sorry. Next up, before most boss fights in both Silksong and Hollow Knight, the boss does a scream, which usually looks like this, with black circles emanating from its head. There is only one boss in Hollow Knight which has white lines emanating from its head, and that's the Radiance, the quote-unquote secret final boss of the game. In the Silksong trailer, the screams of both the Moss Mother and the ant-like boss in the area I'm calling the Bubble Canyon are both white, and the implications of that are very interesting. Some quick ones up next. I wasn't able to find any demo footage that showed us exactly what this item is, but given the design, I think it's likely the thread spool that Hornet uses in battle. There's also the fact that straight pins aren't a piercing attack, they stop at one enemy, as you can see here. Now let's talk a bit about the Forge Daughter. I have a lot of thoughts about this NPC, and it all stems from the fact that it's possible that the Forge Daughter is a False Knight V2, to put it crudely. They're both large creatures with armor on and tiny bugs inside, but I wager that this could actually be a suit of armor being puppeteered or controlled by a large amount of bugs masquerading as one big bug, and this would help explain the royal we that the Forge Daughter uses when referring to themselves. However, this theory could be countered by the fact that the Forge Daughter has only one voice, and it's fairly clear not a cacophony of tiny bugs screaming to get their way, and also by the fact that they have two long invisible hands that don't really help the idea that this is a bunch of small creatures stuck together. Next, if we take a look at this table near the Forge Daughter, it has needles of some kind present on it, which are very similar to both the staffs and a lot of the imagery that we see in the trailer, as well as a telescope. No real implication here, just a fun little detail. Okay, this part is really peculiar to me. In Hollow Knight, some NPCs had two options for interacting with them, a listen option and a shop option, like with Iselda, Sly, or Leg Eater, for example. Having two icons isn't really out of the ordinary, but the Forge Daughter has two speak icons? My first thought, and probably the most plausible of the lot, is that one of these icons will eventually turn into a shop icon once we progress far enough into the game to, actually buy something from them. But I have other theories as well. Given that Hornet is a protagonist who can actually speak, it's possible that this method of having two speak icons could also be a way for Team Cherry to implement dialogue trees. It could also be hinting at a theory I mentioned earlier, that the Forge Daughter is a bunch of bugs bundled together, and that the dual speak icons are there because there are so many entities inside that there are multiple ways to get their attention. It could even be hinting at the presence of another entity inside the forge that we don't know of or can't see yet, but with all this speculation, it should be duly noted that in the demo playthrough, both speak icons did the same thing, without any dialogue trees or any of that nonsense. Tiny rant here. Lace, use grammar correctly. Oh my god, there needs to be an apostrophe here, oh my god. So we know from information that Team Cherry has released that Hornet learns how to make new tools based on things she sees in the world, like this javelin or something of the sort. In the trailer, we can see an ant using what looks like a straight pin to try and attack Hornet, and from the demo, we know that Hornet has the straight pin in her moveset by the Deep Dock sub-area, which means that the ants are likely encountered by the player character for the first time before the Deep Docks. Since we also see the ants and the ant boss battles with much more difficult movesets later on, I'd wager that this means the ants have done what ants do and completely infested all of Farloom, and thus can be encountered at multiple stages in the game with different difficulty levels. That or the ant queen style fight we see here is just an optional boss to come back to when you're OP as hell. The old church sub-area is filled with spiral logos on these background objects. Spirals are linked to snails in Hollow Knight, and this could insinuate that before Silk and Song, Farloom was home to a society that worshipped snails, or was run by snails that worshipped something else, and that possibly even controlled Silk the way snails in Hollow Knight control Soul. Also, from the trailer we see Hornet using a silk sphere kind of move on the Moss Mother, exactly like the one she uses while she's a boss fight in Hollow Knight. But as far as we can see in-game from the demos, this isn't obtainable before the Moss Mother battle. It's possible that this means that we're getting a way to replay and retry bosses in the base game of Silksong, just like Hollow Knight's Godmaster DLC, but with the added bonus of the fight in their own natural arena with no differences like there are in Godhome with the metal and the other rock structures. Finally, Hornet's lifeblood masks are the same as the Knight's, taking the shape of Monomon's face instead of the visually distinct regular mask that she has which look more like her. This could indicate that Monomon's mask isn't his and instead is modeled after something much more important, and therefore is the reason masks from another higher being, the lifeblood creature, take that shape. Quick caveat here, it could also be that Team Cherry didn't design in the correct shape for a lifeblood mask for the trailer. If you do like Hollow Knight or you are excited for Silksong, please do share this video with your friends. I have another video planned purely for my speculations regarding the lore in Silksong, and sharing helps YouTube determine the audience to show these videos to. That is not my regular Minecraft one. Have a great day!